In this video, you will see a primeval forest in China, an ancient first aid kit, a rich Phoenician necropolis, and find out what a dock looked like, which is more than 7,500 years old. Watch the video until the end. Other finds of archaeologists are waiting for you. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. First aid kit, which is 2,100 years old. What to hide? The medicine of past centuries, in comparison with the present, looks at least barbaric. The art of healing was quite limited: leeches, incense, bloodletting, and spells. But recently, something was found on the seabed that revealed the medical secret of those years. A 2,100-year-old shipwreck has been found off the coast of Tuscany. The researchers found there the remains of a fairly large first aid kit, whose age is estimated at about 130 BC. It contained 136 pewter and wooden medicine bottles, as well as cubes and pills. Interestingly, most drugs have a diverse and complex composition. Some pills contain more than 10 different plant extracts. Some were made from pine resin, zinc, starch, and even vegetables. Scientists involved physicians in their work, and they concluded that these drugs are still used today in the treatment of certain diseases, for example, of an ophthalmic nature and the gastrointestinal tract. This discovery allows you to find out the secrets of what a wide range of drugs were used by people before our era, and surprisingly, were quite working. Ancient Roman bridges in the middle of the Russian steppe. The Stavropol-Armavir-Tuapse railway has long been dismantled in some sections, but its bridges are still standing. In appearance, they look like ancient Roman buildings. They are so impressive with their architecture. The construction of the road itself, which is popularly called Tuapse, began back in 1909. It was built out of necessity. Local merchants needed to establish trade, and using alternative roads was very expensive. In order to finance the creation of the road, a special joint stock company was created. Its shares were owned by the same merchants as well as local Cossacks and peasants. Goods began to be transported along the first section of the road already in 1915, but the route, passing through the Vasilovsky Bridge, began to work only a year later. The amazing bridge impresses people not only today. Reinforced concrete was used in the construction of the structure, which was a revolutionary solution at that time. It is noteworthy that bridges were built according to old plans. Projects of stone bridges with arches were used. The construction was led by specialists from Belgium and Germany, which is why they are also called German among the people. Of the 4 railway bridges, the highest is Vasilovsky. During construction, it was cast entirely from concrete, and the arches were created separately. Tourists rarely come here. Most often, here you can meet extreme climbers or travelers who like to visit unusual places. You need to look for this unique bridge in the Krasnodar territory. There is a Vasily farm there, in connection with which the bridge, which is located very close, got its name. Amazing discovery in Lake Michigan. Who hasn't heard of Stonehenge? Huge stones standing in a circle with a base that is not reinforced by anything. The purpose of this installation is still unknown, and a similar structure was found in 2007 at a depth of 12 meters in the Grand Traverse Bay, Lake Michigan, USA. Initially, the purpose of the expedition was to search for sunken ships using a new generation of sonars. Scientists found this strange structure underwater, and they did not expect at all that they would stumble upon such a historical monument, which most likely is more than 9,000 years old. Studies have revealed that many stones bear mysterious drawings that most of all resemble the figures of extinct animals. Several hypotheses have been put forward which of the peoples could erect such a structure, but so far none of them has been confirmed. Gold bars in Normandy. Excavations at a small Iron Age agricultural settlement in northwest France have led to a number of unexpected discoveries. Archaeological research on the banks of the Orne River in Normandy has been going on for several years. Scientists have established the boundaries of the place where the settlement was located, which existed in the Neolithic. One can definitely say people remained in the same place in the Bronze Age and in the Iron Age, and even when the legions of Rome came to Gaul. French archaeologists archaeologists have unearthed residential buildings and outbuildings which were previously dated to the 2nd century BC. Plant remains collected in storage pits show that the inhabitants of the settlement grew barley, millet, einkorn wheat, and peas. Using the methods of archaeozoology, scientists determined the type of animal husbandry, mainly cattle, as well as goats, pigs, and sheep. In addition, in one section of the moat that encloses the settlement, they found the remains of carcasses of pigs and sheep without traces of butchering, which raises questions from experts. It could have been a sacrifice, but perhaps this was how the carcasses of sick animals were disposed of. Scientists also unearthed an Iron Age necropolis on the territory of the settlement, which was used for burials for almost 300 years, from about 540 to 250 BC. The main type of burial there is inhumation, but there are also several secondary cremation burials dating back to the 4th century BC. Apparently, for some time, the two burial practices coexisted. This usually indicates representatives of different religions, which often means different ethnic origins. The most amazing find of archaeologists was not even a necropolis. In the corner of the ditch that encloses the settlement, they found 29 ingots of gold, silver, and copper alloy. Preliminary dating 50-20 years BC. Similar ingots have already been found in Normandy, and according to some scholars, they were not intended for use in jewelry, but as means of payment, which is functionally close to coins made of precious metals. Mysterious pit at Stonehenge. Scientists from the universities of Kent and Birmingham have explored the deep layers of soil around the ancient megaliths of Stonehenge. They used electromagnetic ground scanning methods as well as a specially created program for semi-automatic data interpretation. As a result, researchers have found hundreds of large prehistoric pits and thousands more in the heart of Stonehenge, challenging our understanding of land use at the world's most heavily explored prehistoric site. Excavations of 6 large pits confirm the assumption of their anthropogenic origin. The largest, more than 4 meters wide and 2 meters deep, is dug into the chalk rock. It turns out that its volume is tens of cubic meters, and digging so much with stone tools in relatively hard rock is quite difficult. The pit is more than 10,000 years old, which means it was dug by early Mesolithic hunter-gatherers who settled Britain after the last ice age. And this is the oldest trace of land use discovered at Stonehenge. Mapping of other large pits shows that they are located on high ground to the east and west of Stonehenge. That is, the place that we used to associate with ritual activities with druids and priests was actively visited by people almost immediately after they came to the island after the glacier melted. There are 7 millennia between the earliest and latest pits, whereas the stones of Stonehenge, according to the most daring estimates, are no more than 3.2 thousand years old. It turns out that the social context of the activities of the people who lived in those places changed radically over time, but they still continued to dig holes. It is not clear why. If you can still believe in pit traps in the Mesolithic, then similar structures in the Neolithic look strange. The density of game by this time should have fallen, and in the conditions of developed agriculture, driven hunting in pits does not look quite rational. Digging large holes before the advent of iron shovels is generally labor-intensive, especially in relatively dense chalk. This dog is 7,500 years old. Meet Muge, a dog that lived in Portugal 7,500 years ago. This one could well run in your yard, right? The skeleton of this dog was found in the Portuguese town of Muge in 1880 during the excavation of a large Mesolithic monument. Then the find did not attract attention. Scientists were more interested in the ancient people who lived in these territories. There was a burial ground in Muga, which included at least 110 human skeletons. Archaeologists managed to collect the largest European osteological collection of the Mesolithic era. Dog bones were found in a shell mound at a depth of 4 meters. The skeleton was put in a box and safely forgotten about it. The dog's skeleton was rediscovered only 120 years later, in a closet at the Lisbon Geological Museum. In 2010, the find was radiocarbon dated, given an age of 7,680–7,450 years ago. Since then, the dog from Muge has become an important exhibit in the museum's permanent exhibition. Experts determined that the skeleton belonged to a medium-sized adult dog. The height of the dog at the shoulders is about 50 centimeters. A more accurate age of the dog was established by making an X-ray of the skull from 2 to 6 years based on the closure of the pulp canals of the canines. More recently, a team of researchers, including renowned forensic reenactor Cesare Moraes, has taken on the task of restoring the appearance of the Muge dog. The dog's skull was subjected to a CT scan. A forensic technique commonly used to reconstruct human faces has been adapted to reconstruct a canine face. To recreate the original shape of the skull, its missing parts and soft tissues, the skull of a virtual donor was used, a modern dog that serves as a guide for reconstruction. The Belgian Shepherd Malinois male acted as such a donor. This specimen was chosen because its size and structure roughly corresponded to the skull of a Muge dog. What happened? Judge for yourself. As far as the authors of the work know, this is the first attempt to digitally reconstruct the appearance of an ancient dog that lived in the Mesolithic. Rich Phoenician necropolis. In southern Spain, archaeologists have discovered a Phoenician necropolis from the 4th or 5th century BC. The discovery surprised scientists because such structures had previously been found only in Sardinia and North Africa. According to the history blog, the discovery was made in the city of Osuna in southern Spain. Interestingly, the workers who were repairing the water supply were the first to stumble upon the ancient necropolis. They found the walls of limestone crypts, after which the work was temporarily stopped, and experts were invited to the site. The letters say that this is a unique find, and not only because the crypts are perfectly preserved. The fact is that such necropolises have never been found in Spain before. At the moment, archaeologists have unearthed 8 tombs with stairs and entrance atriums. Apparently, these were elite burials, as experts say, which have no analogues in the hinterland of Phoenician Spain. The only comparable necropolises were previously found only in the coastal area, which in ancient times was the Phoenician colony of Cadiz. But the city of Osuna is located quite far from the coast. It is located about 90 kilometers east of Seville. According to Delgado, at the beginning of the excavations, experts were sure that there were Roman structures underground. They would be much more in line with these places and history. Therefore, the researchers were very surprised to find tombs and hypogees, that is, underground walls of the Phoenician era. Ancient manuscript on silk. In the vicinity of the modern city of Changsha, located in the province of Hunan, in 1972-1974, archaeologists discovered and excavated the Mavangdui burial ground, which dates back to the early period of the Western Han Dynasty. The researchers found 3 burials there, which belonged to the Prince Hu, who owned the Dai inheritance in 185-165 BC, and also, probably, to his son and wife. The most striking of them was the burial of a woman whose remains were found in a mummified state. Scientists have found that she died at the age of approximately 54 from a heart attack. Together with her, archaeologists found numerous sets of clothes, 158 lacquer items such as furniture, cutlery, and toiletries, as well as silk fabrics and wooden figurines. In addition to things, the accompanying inventory included ancient texts on bamboo and wooden planks, as well as silk scrolls. Among them, in particular, were works devoted to ancient Chinese medicine and pharmaceuticals, contemplative, gymnastic, and sexual practices. Chinese scientists continued to study the rich collection of finds made in the Mavangdui burial ground. Thus, the latest research included more than 19,000 fragments of fabric and 1,700 lacquer and wooden items found in the burial of the wife of Prince Dai. According to Yu Yanzhao of the Hunan Province Museum, this work made it possible for the first time to identify delicate Chinese characters on silk fabrics, which indicate a high level of weaving during the early Han Dynasty. In addition, scientists found images of phoenixes that were embedded in patterns symbolizing longevity. Among other discoveries were dozens of found fragments of manuscripts on silk. Some of these texts, written in Chinese characters, have been identified as part of the 3rd volume of the ancient literary work Zhengzhe. Giant funnel with primeval forest inside. A group of speleologists have discovered a giant accumulation of sinkholes in the Guangxi-Zhuan Autonomous Region of South China. 19 new sinkholes have been found, one of which stands out for its enormous size and lush vegetation, according to the team, which included scientists from China, Britain, and France. Located near Pingay village in Leh County, the sinkhole is 192 meters deep and 150 meters long and 306 meters wide, according to Xinhua News Agency. To understand the scale, imagine that the entire Manhattan block, along with skyscrapers, can easily fit into this hole, while it will not even be visible. Going down inside one of the funnels, the scientists saw a real hidden Garden of Eden with perfectly preserved trees reaching the height of a 12-story building, 40 meters, and smaller heat-loving vegetation. 3 large have also been preserved in its walls, which will help to better understand how such giant holes in the ground are formed in general. According to Zhang Yuanhai, senior engineer at the Institute of Karst Geology, China Geological Survey Administration, this stunning new ecosystem is part of a series of sinkholes that are connected by an underground river and cave system, making them the largest concentration ever discovered south of the Tropic of Cancer. Specialists will continue to study the funnel, which has become the 30th anniversary in the region. They suggest that plant and animal species new to modern mankind could have been preserved in the relict forest system. Sacred tunnels of the Assyrian Empire. During rescue excavations in the village of Bashbuk in southeastern Turkey, archaeologists discovered a system of ancient tunnels carved into the rock. Archaeological work began after the appeal of local residents to the authorities about the increasing activity of black archaeologists near the village. The entrance to the underground complex was found under a modern double-decker house. Archaeologists have dated the object to the 1st millennium BC, that is, the period of the Assyrian Empire in the region. Many drawings in the Assyrian style were found on the walls of the complex. Scientists believe that the object was religious and sacred, so some rock paintings depict scenes of the procession of Assyrian gods, such as Hadad, the god of rain and storm, Sin, the moon goddess, Atargatis, the goddess of fertility, and others. An unusual feature of the records found in the language used here. The fact is that the inscriptions in the dungeons were made in Aramaic and not in Assyrian. However, this is explained by the fact that for the locals of that time, the Aramaic language was native. Thanks to the operational work of archaeologists, it was possible to partially decipher one of the cave inscriptions. It mentions the name of Mukin Abua, a Neo-Assyrian official from the reign of Adad-nirari III. Scholars suggest that this man was appointed as the ruler of the region, and the underground complex could have been used to house the locals. However, this is still only a working hypothesis. And to learn more about the new finds of archaeologists, I strongly recommend that you subscribe to our channel. Leave your kind comments under the video, and I will try to answer them. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone!